Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a story that's been quietly shaking up the football world, and it centers around one of the most talked about young quarterbacks in the game right now, Shedeur Sanders. This isn't just another highlight reel breakdown or a stats-heavy debate about arm strength and footwork. This is about a message that came from an unexpected source, an ex-Browns quarterback, and a message that, according to Shedeur himself, completely changed the way he looks at pressure, expectations, and what it really means to lead at the highest level of football. So settle in, because this is one of those stories that goes way deeper than the box score. Shedeur Sanders has lived under a microscope for most of his football life. Being the son of Shedeur Sanders means your name alone carries weight. Before he ever took a snap in college, people already had opinions. Some said he was overrated. Others said he was destined for greatness just because of his last name. Very few were willing to let him simply be a developing quarterback. Every throw, every decision, every facial expression on the sideline was dissected. And Shedeur knew it. He felt it every single day. Coming out of high school, he already had pressure most players never experience in their entire careers. When he committed to play for his father, critics lined up fast. They said it was nepotism. They said it was a shortcut. They said he wouldn't survive real adversity. But Shedeur didn't talk much. He worked. And when he finally stepped onto the field, first at Jackson State and later at Colorado, he made sure his play did the talking. Still, even with success, the pressure didn't disappear. In fact, it got heavier. Bigger stage, brighter lights, louder critics. Every interception became a headline. Every loss turned into a referendum on whether he was truly that guy. And that's where this story really begins. According to Shedeur, there was a moment during one of the toughest stretches of his career when doubt started to creep in. Not from fans, not from media, but internally. He's admitted that there were nights when he replayed games in his head over and over, thinking about throws he wished he had back, reads he could have made differently, and the weight of knowing that when he struggled, it wasn't just about him, it reflected on his team, his coach, and his family. That's when he received a message that he says changed everything. The message didn't come from a flashy Hall of Famer or a social media superstar. It came from a former Browns quarterback, a guy who knew what it felt like to be drafted high, hyped endlessly, and then crushed by expectations. A guy who had experienced the highs of believing you're the future of a franchise and the lows of realizing how quickly the league can turn on you. Shedeur hasn't made the message about clout or name-dropping. He's described it as real, raw, and honest, the kind of advice you only get from someone who's been through the fire and come out the other side with scars. The message, according to Shedeur, was simple but powerful. It wasn't about mechanics, it wasn't about playbooks, it was about survival. The former Browns QB told him that the game will always try to define you before you define yourself. He said that if you let outside noise dictate how you feel about your own career, you'll never play free. He reminded Shedeur that confidence isn't about believing you'll never fail. It's about knowing that failure doesn't get the final word. One line from that message stuck with Shedeur more than anything else. He said the QB told him, "They'll love you for what you do on Sunday, and they'll question your entire existence on Monday. Don't build your identity on either one." That hit hard. For a young quarterback constantly trending on social media, constantly compared to legends, and constantly evaluated as a future NFL prospect, that message landed at the perfect time. Shedeur said it made him realize how dangerous it is to chase approval instead of growth. The ex-Browns QB also warned him about something most fans never think about. He said that being the face of a team means you'll get credit for things you didn't do and blame for things you couldn't control. Offensive line breaks down, that's on you. Receiver runs the wrong route, still on you. Defense gives up 40 points, somehow that's on you too. And if you don't mentally prepare for that reality, it can eat you alive. Shedeur admitted that before that message, he tried to be everything for everyone. He wanted to answer every critic with a perfect game. He wanted to silence every doubter immediately. But football doesn't work like that. Even the greatest quarterbacks ever had bad days, bad seasons, and bad losses. The difference is how they responded. After receiving that message, people around Shedeur noticed a change, not in his swagger, because that was always there, but in his composure. He stopped forcing throws just to make a point. He became more patient in the pocket. He trusted his teammates more. He didn't look rattled after a mistake. Instead of panicking, he reset. Teammates have talked about how his leadership evolved. He became more vocal in huddles, but also more supportive on the sideline. When someone messed up, he didn't point fingers, he focused on the next play. That mindset, he says, traces directly back to that conversation. What makes this story even more interesting is the Browns connection itself. Cleveland is known for being one of the toughest places for quarterbacks. The jersey is heavy, the history is complicated. Many talented quarterbacks have gone there with confidence and left with bruised reputations. So when someone who lived through that pressure speaks, their words carry weight. The former Browns QB reportedly told Shedeur that the league doesn't just test your arm, it tests your ego, it tests your patience, it tests how much criticism you can take without changing who you are. And he told him something else that felt almost prophetic, that people will always be waiting for the moment you fail, especially when your name is already famous. That wasn't meant to scare him, it was meant to prepare him. Shedeur said the message helped him embrace the idea that criticism is part of the cost of doing something meaningful. If nobody's talking about you, you're probably not doing much. And if everyone's talking about you, you better have thick skin. As the season went on, fans started to see the results. Even in games where Colorado struggled, Shedeur's poise stood out. He took hits, got back up, and kept competing. He didn't hide. He didn't make excuses. He owned the moment, good or bad. This is where the story becomes bigger than football, because that message applies far beyond the quarterback position. It's about pressure, expectations, and identity. It's about understanding that external validation is fleeting, but internal belief is foundational. Shedeur has since talked about how that advice will stick with him long after college. As NFL scouts watch every throw and analysts debate his draft stock, he says he's focused on controlling what he can control: preparation, effort, leadership, growth. And that's exactly what the ex-Browns QB wanted him to understand. You can't control narratives, you can't control opinions, you can't control headlines, but you can control how you respond. There's something powerful about veterans reaching back to guide the next generation, especially when the advice isn't sugar-coated. This wasn't a motivational poster quote, it was a reality check. And sometimes that's exactly what young stars need. Shedeur's journey is far from over. He'll have more big wins, more tough losses, more viral moments, and more criticism. But now he carries that message with him, a reminder that the game is as much mental as it is physical. So the next time you see Shedeur Sanders step onto the field with that calm confidence, remember there's a deeper story behind it, a late-night message, a hard-earned lesson, and a former Browns quarterback who knew exactly what to say at exactly the right time. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more stories like this that go beyond the highlights and into the mindset of today's biggest athletes, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think about Shedeur Sanders and his future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.